Yeah, I better run. Start running now. There's a whole bunch of people freaking out on Twitter. People are upset, outraged, concerned. People are considering putting their kids in therapy now as preventive measures. They're taking their kids to the doctor now. People are getting medical professional help for their kids. It's crazy. Some people actually have to lock up their guns now in the house. It's getting wild out there. Today I've been posting a couple of tweets and trying to stay out of it a little bit. But I've been posting a couple of tweets, and a little war has been breaking out here and there. Commentary. It actually wasn't that bad, but a lot of people with differing opinions. And I got sent a couple of clips from BL, and I was going to play some reactions. People are concerned this is going to set a precedence. They're coming for your ass next. Even Law and Crime, that was really nice. I met her in passing one time. And Jeanette, she's really nice. But she had some opinions about this too. I believe she has kids. And this guy's nice too, but he disagrees. He's following me. I guess he was watching too. He disagrees. People feel this is about guns. They're coming for the guns. Some people feel the parents are next. People are afraid, concerned, scared. They're coming for your ass, man. Better tighten up. I'm sorry. Oh man, check this clip out. Let's start with this first. I thank you guys for coming by. I think I'm burning out a little bit too. I think I need to be a little careful. I need a little bit careful because now that we're gonna start the Montgomery thing, I don't want to do too much in a day, and then like I'm, just forcing myself through the day. Gotta be a little bit careful. I was kind of feeling it today. I got to make sure I sleep good and stuff like that. But let's check out this clip first. Oh, Kimberly, thank you so much for the super chat. Good evening, you guys. Thank you for the 10. Love for you here. What's up? Lovey. Chaos. Walkabout Bridge. Cheesy. Miyu. Kitty. Christina. How you guys feel? How you feel?
A couple different attorneys who've been following this case throughout, honestly, the past 2 years, really. And, it's one of those things where this is a landmark case. This is going to set precedent. And, one of the things that may have caused this conviction that made the jury lean one way, one of the attorneys says it's the fact that they had that meeting right before the shooting took place.
We find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Jennifer Crumbley facing up to 15 years in prison for the involuntary manslaughter of Tate Meir, Hannah St. Julian.
I wonder why they say 15 years as if it's singular, because I've been understanding it's per person. I don't know. Maybe we have to look into that again. Kitty says you feel disappointed. You were thinking, I guess you were saying not guilty.
Liana, Madison Baldwin, and Justin Schilling.
It was the meeting. I don't think they would have been charged but for the meeting right before that shooting happened, right? Because at that point, you're in the best position as the parent in the room. You know that he has access to a gun because you gifted it to him.
Attorney Lily.
That's an attorney giving her opinion. Yeah, honestly, I probably wouldn't be able to come even beyond tonight if it wasn't the girlfriend came by because of doing all cooking and everything. But yeah, this attorney, she's saying she thinks it was the meeting that they had. She's talking about when the parents went up to the school, which I really have a lot of feelings. I think the school messed up big time and they're the professionals, but the parents did withhold information. People were claiming that the school withheld information, which I don't know if they did. I haven't seen anywhere that the school has actually withheld information. But I did make a tweet as well. I said, charge the counselor next. Bring in the school counselor. But apparently somebody had replied and said that, I don't know if this is true. So with this, I heard that the civil case was dismissed. Somebody had posted me a link. I haven't clicked it. I heard the civil case supposedly was dismissed based on state law. State employees cannot be liable for civil cases. So they get to. Oh, you think it's concurrent? Is it concurrent? JB, is that why? Maybe that's why. Lovely. The parents withheld information for sure. So
they would have been charged, but for the meeting right before that shooting happened, right? Because at that point, you're in the best position as the parent in the room. You know that he has access to a gun because you gifted it to him.
Attorney Lillian Diallo says this case, the first.
In that meeting, is that when they showed him that math sheet? Because if that's when they showed him the math sheet and this gun was gifted, even though Jennifer said that it was supposed to be that only used at the range, that probably would have crossed my mind. He literally drew a picture of the gun.
First of its kind where a parent is charged after their child carries out a mass.
I guess the school gets to do whatever they want, right? Kind of like CPS. They can do whatever, all kinds of mess ups and screw ups and put a kid back into an abusive place and the kid gets murdered and they're just above everything. And they don't have to answer to nobody and everything's confidential because it's minors. Which, yeah, protect the minor, but I think it's going to protect them too.
Shooting will set precedents for future cases. And although Jennifer was found guilty, her husband James, who is awaiting trial, may still be found innocent.
I have more sympathy for him.
And this is what got me. I don't understand why more sympathy for the guy. Why more sympathy for James? And also, how is this verdict going to affect James? Because we're going to get into the foreman juror. I posted on the channel. I don't know if you saw it or not, but she has said they based the thing that was like the nail in the coffin for them was, I can't even remember anymore, was that they saw Jennifer last. Jennifer was the last adult seen with a gun before Ethan shot the school. Which to me was like, that was a nail in the coffin. Really? Okay. A little surprised. But then, yeah, I don't understand why more sympathy for the father. He wasn't taking care of the home. To me, he seemed very dismissive. I know he lost his job or something. So, everybody goes through something and maybe people have to take turns, whatever. To me, it seemed like Jennifer was doing everything, even though she was skeezing and, multiple men allegedly, an adult finder. He was cheating too, supposedly, but, the horses stuff. I don't know. I don't know why more sympathy for the guy. He didn't do shit. I don't know.
I just felt he was in a space where he couldn't even get himself up out of the bed. He was doing the best he can. He's door dashing. He might have had depression or not. And I don't know if he got that picture right before that meeting, right? The picture mom got on the email because they said they...
Oh, it's via email? Was it Zodro?
He sent it to mom. I don't know. I'm in a different place with James Crumbley.
Mr. Crumbley sits in a more advantageous position to know what his direction may be. You understand? Because his waters wouldn't be...
I agree, London. He was wearing the pants. Sorry, she was wearing, like you said, she was wearing the pants in the family. To me, it seemed like she was taking care of everything. He was just kind of moping around. I don't know.
He is unchartered as Mrs. Crumbley, as his wife's.
Attorney Todd Perkins is expecting that Jennifer's case will be appealed, possibly even having federal court get involved when it comes to James Crumbley's trial. He thinks today's verdict could have a major impact.
Is the transcripts from this case are going to have to be produced. Can they be produced in enough time for Mr. Crumbley's case to go forward? Because you have to have testimony. If it's sworn testimony, that lawyer who's going to be representing Mr. Crumbley is going to have it.
That's true. Yeah, they can use this case. Things said her testimony. And they need to get the transcripts done. I didn't even think about that because this thing is right around the corner in March. BB, thank you for the membership. Yeah, Jennifer ran that house. James freeloading.
And the prosecution will have to have that. So will there be enough time to produce that?
I feel like, I feel like all the information in my head is like all over the place. Like I don't even know what's fact anymore, or what's in this trial, what's outside of this trial. It's all like blurred in together for me. But I thought James was more dismissive. And even when she had messaged him a couple of times about Ethan, he would just blow her off or whatever, and she was like arguing with him. I feel like he just didn't do shit. I mean, I'll have to see the case when they come, like what they're going to present. His advantage was not being there. I mean, she I guess she wasn't there either, but his advantage was not being involved. So everything's on Jen, I guess.
Will it be produced in enough time before the scheduled trial date that they can actually go through it and review it?
Now, another question that I asked involved James Crumbley's trial, right? So you see his wife, Jennifer, has been found guilty. So as an attorney, do you still go through with this trial, or do you try and get a plea deal? Now, the attorneys that I talked with, they said it's really going to depend on how much evidence they have against or for James Crumbley's case. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to wait.
I wonder. I mean, if you were James, let's say if you were in this position, would you take a plea deal? See what happened with Jen. The thing though is that, let me play this jury foreman, this lady here.
How it was deliberating.
It was very difficult. It wasn't an easy decision. Lives hung in the balance, and we took that very seriously.
And tell us, did you have to convince each other? Is there anything like that where it was going maybe?
I will say both sides were well represented.
Oh, okay.
That answer too, like, I will say both sides were well represented. She didn't really answer the question, but I wonder if she's being ambiguous. So like, I just wonder, when she say both sides represented themselves well, is she saying like in the jury there was two sides, there was a division, and they represent, or are they just talking about the prosecution and defense?
Tell me your name.
Nope.
You don't want to tell your name?
Like, nope. Honestly, if I was her, if I was concerned about my identity, I wouldn't even go on TV. Honestly, if I was concerned, I'm grateful to hear some information and feedback, but the way the internet is, they're probably going to find this one. Because people are very emotional about this right now. I mean, and when I say emotional, I'm talking about the people that are reacting to the verdict, and I don't know if they feel some kind of way and something about the jury, you know. So I wouldn't even have gone on, but good that she didn't give her name.
That's fine. That's fine.
You confirm you were the forewoman, though?
I was the forewoman.
Okay. And then to say that too, so you're the leader of the pack. I mean, the foreperson, I think all they do is just, they're the person that speaks when the judge needs a verdict or addresses thing. I don't know what exactly a foreman's job is. They kind of take the lead a little bit, but no. Craft. This is the skin of a killer mouse.
Okay. Is
there something specific that really stuck that you guys were debating over for that?
Harry Potter.
The thing that really hammered it home is that she was the last adult with the gun. And that's where I'll end my comment. Thank you.
So if you had heard from Ethan, would that have changed anything?
Thank you.
And I think that was a good question at the end because of the jury question about, can they infer if the witness didn't testify? I think something like that. I honestly wouldn't go on TV for this. When I did the jury duty a long time ago for this James Leyritz case, I didn't go on either. And now in hindsight, maybe I would, but at the time I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't think it was that big. But for this situation, I'm not sure. This is the father of one of the victims too. He had a reaction to the guilty verdict. I want to check this out as well. We also have an attorney we can check out and a judge. A lot of mixed feelings and opinions. I really don't think that all of a sudden parents are going to be dragged into court. But this could affect maybe if your kid's a school shooter, maybe, I don't know.
Well, there's definitely a lot of feelings about everything. but I feel most of all that the cries have been heard, and I feel that this verdict is going to echo throughout every household in the country, and I feel it's necessary, and I'm happy with the verdict, even though it's still a sad situation to be in. It's got to stop. Everything that's going on, we have to address everything, and the root cause. Everybody involved. It's accountability, and this is what we've been asking for a long time now, and this is still just one step in the process. There's more to do, and we all have more to do. We all have work now. We all know that we are to be held responsible for anything that we do. So, that being said, it's important to sit down and do some deep thinking and reflect on everything that we do every day. It's.
Somebody had asked me too. I don't remember if it was a tweet or a comment, but they were like, "Is James Crumbley going to have the same judge as the mother did?" I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I don't know. And I do believe that it's going to be the same state, probably on the as the prosecution, because the same state was for Ethan's thing. This is one of the things to me, and who knows if this kid's even being honest or not. But this whole thing where he said that the gun box wasn't locked.
The gun out to buy.
Again, this wasn't in the trial, so a jury wouldn't be able to use this. But
yes. Is it true that on November the 30th, 2021, that 9mm handgun that she used in Oxford High School was not kept in a safe or locked container?
Sorry, repeat that.
Is it true on November the 30th, 2021, when you obtained the firearm, it was not kept in a locked container or a safe?
Yes, it was.
I wonder if they asked this too, with the forethought of we're going for mom and dad next, and this is whatever, like
not locked.
People are satisfied.
Thank you.
Is it true that you picked that gun out to buy?
Yes.
Is it true that on November the 30th, 2021?
I don't know. Some of the gun owners that I've known have always talked about safety and safety being number one and all that stuff. I think some of the arguments that some people can make, and I'm honestly looking soon to get myself one. It might be shocked for me to say I don't have one after all the shit I've been through. But very, very soon, like this year. But I really want to know proper gun usage, safety. Like, I want to take my time. I want to know how to use it, store it, clean it, reload, everything, all the safety stuff. And then, of course, proper storage, whether it's the fingerprint thing, which somebody was saying maybe the fingerprint thing is not reliable. But whatever. I would lock mine up, and I would do that with the thought of I already have an alarm, but having an alarm, when I get a bigger place too, I want an alarm. I want like multiple video stuff, because I think some of the times that people argue, like, well, am I going to have enough time to get to my gun? Somebody breaks in. I think if you have an alarm, that gives you a good amount of time to react and do something. The alarm might even scare somebody off, but if not, I think it gives you a bit of some time and advantage to prepare. But safety is paramount. And I've always told the story about when I went to my friend's house. He had a whole cabinet full of guns, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I've never been big into it, but I believe in the Second Amendment and protecting yourself and your family. And he showed me the Desert Eagle. I wanted to hold it. He's like, hey man, just pull the trigger, just fire, man. There's no bullet. I checked. And just my gut instinct, I'm just like, nah, I'm good. No, come on, man. No, come on. No, just do it, man. No, I'm good. Some people like to play shit like that. I'm good. I gave the shit back to him, and he checked, I guess, the chamber. I don't know what he checked, whatever it is you call it. And there was a bullet. And I was like, wow, I never forget that shit. That's why I tell it over so many times. Because even that situation, I've heard that's a big no-no in the house, just to hand the gun over to somebody and be like, oh, just pull the trigger, bro. Yeah, no. So I always thought safety was like a priority type of thing. Now, I know like the the gun culture there, and a lot of people, I know some, country people, the gun cultures in some places, you teach your kids or whatever, you show them how to shoot a gun or something like that, whatever. But they shouldn't have open access, especially at this day and age. There's so many stories of these kids, whatever they're going through in school. Ikemel, number one, every gun is a loaded gun. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a milestone, and it feels like it.
This is the same. Oh, this is somebody else here. Let's check this out. Another father, I believe. Let me see. Guilty verdict was a pleasant surprise. Father of Oxford victim.
The news we've been covering out of Michigan with Jennifer Crumbley, the mother of the school shooter, found guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. First case we've seen where a parent being charged in the school shooting committed by their child and, again, convicted. Alex Capriello has been all over it, and Alex now joins us live from Pontiac, Michigan, as the reaction comes in. Alex.
It is really heavy.
Yeah, hey there, Connell. After about 11 hours of deliberation spaced out over 2 different days, the jury came back unanimously guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for Jennifer Crumbley. I'm here with Steve St. Juliana. He's the father of Hannah St. Juliana. That was one of the 4 victims that was killed that day.
Listen, and if for the people that disagree with the verdict, I'm sure probably understand, like, the parents, I'm not gonna I agree with the verdict. I think they made the right choice, but I know a lot of people don't. But the parents, of course, I mean, if it was my kid that got, like, God forbid, like, shot like this or whatever, I want everybody taken down. As many, like, the shooter's how many ever we can prosecute, So I understand where the family's coming from.
Tell me,
I wonder if there was any family that disagreed with it, though, of the victims.
What that moment was like when that verdict was read for you, your family, and for the other victims' families that were there in that courtroom today.
I think primarily it was just a feeling of relief that finally there's been some accountability in this whole incident.
What was your level of confidence? I mean, you sat through this last week and a half, 2 days worth of deliberations. How were you feeling going in today?
So, although the prosecution did a phenomenal job, the jury is always hard to read, and there's always the human aspect of it, and that was what was worrying to me. And this morning I felt like, no, they're going to come back with not guilty, just because of, I'm quite cynical of humanity at the moment, understandably, I think. But it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I think a lot of the speculation was that because it is such a historic case, because it could have implications for the future, that it might be a toss-up. The fact that the jury came back with multiple rounds of questions might have led us to believe that there was more discussion in there.
I really thought, once I heard those questions coming, I'm like, oh, shit.
They're leading towards not guilty. Is that sort of the conversations that you were having as well?
Yeah, I mean, that was all running through my head for sure, wondering, why that particular question and things like that. But at the end of the day, they looked at the evidence, used just plain common sense, and came back with the right verdict.
What do you think about the future for America now that we know that Jennifer Crumbley is found guilty? And certainly, if the past is any indication, we will see school shootings in the future, too. So what do you think that this particular trial and this outcome means for Americans' future?
I would love to say that this is a game changer, but I honestly don't feel that way. I think it's an important first step, a bit of a wake-up call, but I do not see this as any type of overriding solution to.
Yeah, I really don't know what the solution is at all. I don't. Whether it's a mental health aspect or guns aspect, like I don't even know. People are just crazy. I mean, how do you stop it? Maybe more school safety, I don't know. Sally said I was pleasantly surprised too.
Stopping, it's one small piece of the puzzle that needs to be put together to force all of the changes necessary to protect our children.
We only have about 20 seconds left. Do you have any message for the people that have been highly invested in this trial, learning about these sons and daughters that were killed? What do you want them to know?
Just that, the families are committed to continue to push for further accountability and change that's necessary to make sure that other families don't have to go through this again.
What do you guys think about when they said people were at some point people were talking about teachers with guns? I don't know. How do you feel about that? Is that like putting too much on teachers? They already don't get paid enough. Now we're gonna arm them up. And I don't know. And what if the teacher got a mental health problem? The teacher starts shooting kids. I don't know.
And because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this will happen again, and people need to wake up.
Steve, thank you very much for your time. Again, so sorry for your loss. James Crumbley, his trial is scheduled to begin in early parts of March. As for Jennifer Crumbley, her sentencing is scheduled for April. Connell.
Something that gives me a little bit of comfort at my daughter's school is when I take her to school, there's always a cop there outside. And sometimes they have other cops around or really close by because there's another school nearby. There's like a pretty heavy police presence close by. Okay, so this is Judge Timothy reacting. By the way, on a completely unrelated note, Tucker Carlson is going to he's in Russia. Completely unrelated. I'm just excited about this because I want to see, he's going to interview Putin. I'm really, really curious to see how this goes. I don't know. I heard maybe a 2-hour interview or something. I don't know when it's dropping. I'm curious to see what the heck is going to come from that. It's going to be huge. So whenever that drops, I'm going to check it out for sure. We can see Mel attempt to hula hoop in the background. Yeah, Maddie got that from some store. I sometimes mess around with the dogs with it. I don't know if I can play the video on here. I mean, if I do it, it's gonna be the second channel for sure. I don't know. I'm very, very intrigued to see what comes from that. Oh, he did Theo Von. Theo Von is such a funny guy, man. Good guy. All right, let's take this.
Former Wayne County Circuit Court Chief Judge Timothy Kenny. Judge Kenny, thank you so much for joining us today. I
even saw people on Twitter that don't really like him, don't agree with everything, but they were very curious about this interview.
Heard guilty on all 4 counts. Just give us your reaction. I don't know if you've been following this case very closely, but people have said back and forth, maybe she would be found guilty, maybe she wouldn't, but this certainly sets a precedent for any parent out there listening. And if their kid is in trouble, whether they have mental health issues or not, you have to pay attention. What are your thoughts?
Well, certainly it is an unprecedented case and charges that have been brought in this particular case. And for those of us who are parents and have raised children through those challenging teenage years, we recognize that there are things that our teenage kids don't always share with us and can be concerning. But I think in this particular case, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this case, I think, was driven in great respect with the fact specifics of the background, and particularly, I think, what was compelling.
Christina said, I would not trust Putin. I'd be a little afraid of like what I drink over there. I don't know. I'd have to have like a bottled water or something. And I don't know, maybe have packaged food that I brought with me from America. I don't think they'd kill him. I don't think they would kill Tucker. I don't know. I don't think they would do that. But I'd be cautious, though. I don't know.
Was the way that Jennifer Crumbley handled that school meeting the day of the shooting. I mean, with all of this concern about the mental health issues and his having a gun and the drawing, to then have an 11 or 12-minute meeting with school officials and then say, I've got to go back to work, I think is pretty strong evidence to indicate that it's reflective that Jennifer Crumbley blew through a lot of red lights that she should have been aware of.
And to think that she is,
her son.
and to think that they are the ones who purchased the gun for their son. She was at the shooting range with her son. From all accounts, this young man was crying out for help, and he just didn't get the help that he needed, as we saw in court.
Yes, and I think, and circling back to one of the comments that was made earlier before the verdict when you were interviewing Todd Flood, the notion of the value of the defendant testifying, was she going to help her case or not? From my perspective as a former judge, I would say, first of all, juries don't like it when someone, either the victim or the defendant, gets on the stand and lies and presents a story that is not very believable. And I think to characterize herself as a hyper-vigilant parent, the surrounding evidence and facts belied that, I think. And I think that does not help her any in terms of...
What were some of the lies that Jennifer was caught in, if anybody remembers? Jamie, thank you so much for the 20. I appreciate that. Ethan was charged and imprisoned for life as an adult. Think about that. I got opinions. Take care of yourself, Mel. So do you feel like maybe the parents shouldn't have gotten charged? I do see, or I have seen people bring up the point that, like, hey, like, they're charging women as an adult, so why are they charging the parents? And Jennifer, I think, understand. I think the one thing was the adult finder that, like, she was only meeting this one person, and he had said that, like, well, you've met multiple people or whatever, And then I think the other thing too was the gifting thing, where she kind of, I feel like if you're taking a stand, the juries that just own up to the shit, kind of like Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp just owned up to the shit. They kept talking about, oh yeah, you did this, you did that, you were sniffing coke, doing this, snorting coke off a chick's ass, blah, blah. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did all that shit. Well, Johnny was a civil case, but that part where she was like defying gifting, I was kind of like, come on, just be a little straightforward. Like, maybe in her perspective, she wanted to break it down as like, well, it was a gift, but like not to use it whenever you want. Vic. Yeah. Gonna need adult friend finder now.
Of trying to raise the issue of reasonable doubt when you portray yourself in a way that is simply untrue, and the jury sees through that.
Judge, do you have any
I think they saw through the attorney.
sense of what this sentence will look like for Jennifer Crumbley? How many years she could get? I mean, we know the maximum, but we also know there's been sentencing reform. So can you give us some insight on that?
Yo, that was so bad too. And we talked about that. Misi says, she said she wouldn't have done anything differently. That was a bad reply, but then I also think you could almost stick your foot in your mouth replying to that and being like, well, I would have done this differently. Well, what would you have done differently? Oh, I would have, I don't know, go down the list. Taking them to therapy, blah, 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 blah. Then you're kind of almost laying out the case for the prosecution and responding. I don't know. It could backfire. But, she came back and kind of cleaned it up with the attorney.
Sure. Well, there will be, sentencing guidelines that will be prepared with regards to not only this particular offense, but also Jennifer Crumbley's background. But I think just as this is an unprecedented trial, the sentencing is going to present unprecedented issues as well. And there will be an opportunity once again for the families of the 4 victims to make impact statements. And, the reality is, I mean, you have these young lives that have been tragically lost. And
Kelly said she also lied about, she said the gun was in the car. And I did, yeah, they did call her out on that it wasn't, or it was a lie or something. But later testified she thought Ethan had left school and went and got it home.
Multiple lives murdered, that's going to have an impact, I would think. But I would have every confidence that the judge will be mindful of all of the standards that are set forward here. But I mean, I would think that certainly a prison sentence is inevitable.
Well, Judge Kinney, we certainly appreciate your time.
That was a judge. I want to hear a little bit of this attorney, and Michigan attorney reacts.
Okay. All right. The first obvious question: are you surprised at the verdict today?
I'm not surprised at the verdict. I think it could have gone either way.
What, in your, in reading the jury's questions and following the trial, why did they reach this verdict? Did you believe there was beyond reasonable doubt?
So I've done enough trials to know that it doesn't really matter what any of us believe. All that matters is what those people sitting in that room believe when they start talking with each other about what they each experienced, and they have that group dynamic. That's how our jury system works. I did an interview with the Detroit News before the trial started, and I said, it's interesting because I think that many of us are concerned that it's common in northern Michigan in particular, but even in Oakland County, for parents to allow children who are teenagers to have access to firearms. And that's a normal part of American life in rural America, certainly in northern Michigan. And what was interesting about this jury is that it had a large number of gun owners and people who grew up with firearms and people who were comfortable with firearms. And so what that says to me is that they were able to say, look, this is not putting the Second Amendment on trial, nor is it putting parenting on trial. What this case is about is there was a really exceptionally horrible thing that occurred, right? We have dead teenagers. And is this person who didn't pull the trigger at fault in some way? And there were 2 ways the judge instructed the jury that they could find fault. Way number 1, mom could have prevented it and she didn't. Unfortunately for mom, she sent a text to her boyfriend saying exactly that. That's a really significant piece of evidence. After something terrible happens, it's normal for all of us to say, oh, if only I had done that. I could have prevented that. But when people are killed and a mother says, I shouldn't have let him go to school that day, I could have prevented that. That's tough evidence for the jury to ignore in determining beyond a reasonable doubt. The second issue is this was a jury who, from their background, was sophisticated about understanding the rules of owning firearms and keeping them safely. And I think they were probably quite offended at the idea that these parents know their child is struggling with not just normal teenage anger issues.
Oh, is she on Court TV as well? Or is that the same clip?
This is someone who is acting in a truly aberrant fashion. And they are completely reckless in giving this child access to the firearm. And I think that whether you're talking about driving a car or owning a gun or being a parent, There are certain ground rules that we all have to follow. And I think there was enough evidence for Prosecutor McDonald to bring the case and for a jury to find that those ground rules were not followed by this particular defendant. It was so outside the norm that a verdict of guilty for involuntary manslaughter was appropriate.
What did you think about the decision to have Jennifer Crumbley testify?
I think, first of all, her lawyer is an outstanding lawyer. And I think that Shannon had no choice. I think she had to put her on the stand. I think the jury needed to hear what was going on inside Crumbley's head. And if they didn't hear it, they would assume the worst. And that's especially true because of the text evidence and because of the affair. And so she needed to humanize her and put her up there as just I am a parent. I didn't get it right, obviously. But it's not that I'm so outrageously awful that I could have predicted this. So I think it was the right call, but the jury called it the way they saw it.
Next step.
There'll be a motion for a new trial.
Okay.
By the defense. First, there'll be sentencing.
For what reason?
Yeah. I think sentencing. When did they say it was in April or something? Let's say April something. I should have made a note. I should use my calendar. Sorry? The huge ass calendar I have here that I stopped using.
An order for a new trial. For what reason?
Well, I don't know what the defense will come up with, but they will argue that the trial was not fair, didn't follow the rules. There were certainly pieces of evidence that were excluded that the defense wanted in. And so they will argue that they're entitled to a new trial and the verdict should be thrown out. It's in the case when a jury has already been impaneled,
April 9th?
a motion
you guys are amazing.
for a new trial is really saying, it's not that we want a new trial, it's that we want the verdict thrown out and the defendant to be free. Because under the rules of double jeopardy, what would constitute a new trial in a civil case, there cannot be a new trial in a criminal case once a jury has been impaneled.
So that's a step before you would appeal it. You would just simply ask for a new trial.
Correct, in front of the circuit court judge that heard the case. Then there's a notice of appeal filed in Oakland County Circuit Court, and the file is moved to the Court of Appeals clerk's office, and a briefing schedule happens according to the court rules, where an appeal brief is filed after a transcript is made available, and the prosecutor responds, and then the defense gets to file a reply brief. And then maybe or maybe not, there is oral argument in front of a panel of 3 judges of the Michigan Court of Appeals, all of whom are elected.
So let's talk about the precedent that this sets. This is such a historic decision. Talk about that and what other states or other prosecutors might do now with this being set.
So I think that there's more talk about this than reality. And the reason is because Americans do not want a nanny state. We do not want parents routinely being charged for the failures of their children. We do not want siblings charged, spouses charged. We want individuals held account for their own bad choices and actions. That is also the norm in criminal law. There have been a few movements in the opposite direction. For instance, there were a couple of prosecutions where people encouraged people to commit suicide. They didn't actually assist them. They just said in bullying type situations or in weird supportive on websites where people are looking for the courage to kill themselves, and people will say, yes, go ahead and do it. There have been prosecutions in a few of those cases, but they're rare. We do not find routine prosecution.
Interesting. That's kind of interesting. There was that, I think it was a YouTuber or TikTok. I forgot what the guy's name was, but he I don't even remember the story. I forgot the guy's name, but he had like hired this chick to like edit videos for him or something like that. And he was starting to come up. And so like she started working with him. And I guess she was underage at the time. I don't know, maybe 16, 17, something like that. And anyway, he didn't know though. He just hired her. She was just editing stuff. And at some point, I don't remember how the story goes, but the chick started kind of getting into drama or something, or I don't know if she was like trolling him. He had to get rid of the chick. And she didn't like that. And so she told her boyfriend. But she lied to the boyfriend and told the boyfriend that this guy was like flirting with her and making like inappropriate comments and like doing all this kind of stuff. And it was all a lie. And so the guy joined up with her and he started harassing this guy. And they leaked like the DMs of him saying simple stuff like, hey, love, or thank you, love, or I love you so much. Like, just like, you know, sometimes like us in the chat type dude. They leaked that out and try to say that he was like a pet or whatever. And they went to go destroy this guy's life. And he couldn't handle the pressure. I think his name was Inquisitor. Inquisitor? What's the guy's name? Let me see. Yeah. Here we go. This guy. Let me get a full screen for you guys. I had always thought about covering the story, but I never had time. This chick lined him up and got the boyfriend involved. The boyfriend even made some type of TikTok saying that like it was like the chick lied to him, but this chick just wanted to get back at him. I don't know if the chick really liked him too or something. And I think this guy was on a live where he killed himself. Popular Call of Duty cosplayer Vincent Palacci, better known online as Inquisitor, for his cosplays of the COD character Ghost, has reportedly died, showcased in a disturbing and concerning TikTok live. So they did some messed up stuff. And not only that, when this psycho chick put out the false information about him, other people started running with it. Other TikTokers started running with it, all accusing him of all kinds of shit. And he just imploded. He goes by the name Inquisitor 3 on TikTok, accused of grooming minors, facing much of the backlash from community. With over 100K followers himself, it was later believed the accusations against him were false. In his last post on September 27th, almost 2 weeks before the TikTok live video in question took place, and prior to the accusations catching the stream on social media, the video was simply an empty room with a window, late night, very dark, with the comments turned off and users unable to discuss what was going on. While the room seemed empty, it soon became apparent that something was going on as somebody started trying to smash through the window. Though viewers were unaware of what was happening at the time, there was panic and what looked like someone performing CPR just slightly out of view. So, yeah, he killed off himself. And these people, this chick plotted some shit. I don't think she was ever charged. Nothing ever happened to her. You know?
Where people are encouraging other people.
Fat Baby Toodles. Oh my God, yeah, the dude offed himself. It was overseas, Inquisitor. Yeah, it was really sad. It was really, really sad.
People to commit suicide. And why? Because it cuts against our norm that people are responsible for their own actions. I don't think we're going to get a flurry of cases where parents are charged for their children's actions.
I don't think that's going to happen either. I know some people feel like they do, and I get it. Opening the floodgates, because the couple of times we've watched trials and we sat in, when they make an argument, they'll be like, okay, well, let me reference this case, so-and-so, whatever. And they'll bring up a case where a judge ruled on something and they'll use it to make their point.
I do think that in the most extreme cases where it's way beyond normal negligence, where the horror of the crime is awful, and we also feel that really couldn't have happened but for terrible judgment and bad behavior by someone else.
And the thing with Ethan is like, I don't know, man. That's the thing. Like, I don't know if his parents would have done different, taken him to therapy or whatever. I don't know that the outcome would be different. They would have covered themselves for sure. But I almost feel like after reading that journal, I almost feel like that kid is evil, man. He was neglected. They didn't take good care of him. But I almost think there was something innately evil about that kid, besides not getting some hugs and not getting his parents' attention. Yes, he had mental health, and that was untreated. What I call evil, maybe that's just mental health. Not taken care of, not being whatever. I don't know if he would have put that kid on pills that would have helped him. Would pills have helped Jeffrey Dahmer? That's probably a crazy comparison, but I don't know what you do in a situation like that.
I think we'll see some cases. But remember, in the law, precedent is not set at the trial court level. Precedent is set at the appellate court level. So no law has been made. It's really a cultural norm. That's what we're looking at. Are we setting a new cultural norm? And I, for one, don't think Americans want a new cultural norm. I think the only new cultural norm we want is to stop mass shootings. That's a cultural norm we all want. But I don't think we want a nanny state. I don't think we want prosecutors going off the deep end and prosecuting everyone they possibly can every time someone commits a crime. I think that cuts against the grain of who we are. And since prosecutors are elected and reflect the values of the communities that elect them, I really don't expect it.
We've covered a lot. Any final thoughts?
I think that this tragedy is horrific and unspeakable. I think that the idea that you send your kid to school and you live in a town you think is safe and you've made efforts to protect your child and there is nothing you can do to protect.
I did, Tracy. I think I read it. I'll read it again though. Let's see. Yeah. I did read that. Ethan was charged as an adult due to... Oh, wait. Actually, I didn't read that. I'm sorry. That was Jamie's that I read. Tracy, thank you for the 10. It says, Ethan was charged as an adult due to nature planning evilness. Nature planning evilness of a crime. They feel he doesn't have signs of rehabilitation. He deserves life without parole. His parents' charges are for their part. That's a good point. If you look at that journal and how he's talking about that, like, he can't wait for the parents of the victims to see their kids shot and killed and that he hopes they suffer and burn in hell. He was like excited about that. Like, he draws a picture of putting a gun behind a kid's head. He even talked about raping a child. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. Raping a child. I'm just like, lock this guy up. That there is no, I don't know, unless Elon Musk Neuralink helps out at some point in life, maybe, I don't know, but I just don't see it. I don't want that person going to school with my kid. I think I felt some kind of way sometimes too, is because sometimes, I see unruly kids. Kids are going to be kids, but like those kids in school, like even from a young age, hitting kids, rude as fuck, biting kids, slapping kids, beating kids, bullying kids. I mean, I'm talking about like at young ages. And I've seen them kind of like sometimes, like I hear about it. And then you sometimes see these kids' interactions, and I'm just like, what is wrong with this kid? But I'm also thinking like it has to be some shit coming from home. Because who does that? And who allows that? And these parents that don't say shit to their kid about it. And then you send your kids to school and you have to suffer with the repercussions or the consequences, and you have to keep going back and forth and talking to the teacher, sending messages, whatever. And I think a lot when at that age is because I think these parents I don't know what's going on, what kind of environment they're being raised in. And everybody's just supposed to succumb to the wild child that the parents not doing shit about. But then, I don't know, maybe some kids or people just born like that. Maybe some people are just born like that. But I think about that sometimes, like why do we have to, why do everybody else got to suffer? Like, get that kid help. The parent needs to be made aware of. You got to say something. And the teacher needs to tell the parent. Because if the thing with Maddie, it wasn't no big deal, but had the teacher not said anything to the kid or like rectify the situation, the next person I was going to talk to is the parent. Because I looked her up and I found her on the app, the class app. I wasn't going to be nasty, but I was going to tell her directly because I don't know if these people don't know or they don't care. why is your kid acting out like an animal? You know, I don't know.
Your child, I think, terrorizes all of us who are parents.
But kids are kids. The kids are kids, but I don't know. Like, but to a certain point, I mean, I've just seen some really nasty like behavior, and even sometimes too, like some of the conversations, and I guess it's social media. Some of, I mean, I don't want to say who or anything, but like some of the conversations of these kids, like, you know, you bring your kid around them, and then like you're kind of like, maybe I don't want my kid around this person anymore.
And a truly horrible act, which damages not just the particular victims, but the very fabric of the community, cries out for justice. And I think that's what the prosecutors sought, and that's what the jury found.
David, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Kids are also very uncensored. You know, they just say what comes to mind. That's what's kind of funny about them too sometimes, right? They tell you whatever. You smell. I'm not talking about stupid stuff like that, you know. I'm talking more egregious things where you're purposely going out and attacking somebody, or as a child, or going to crush somebody's school lunch and step on it, or just purposely make hell for them. Like, you know, like.
Keith Matheny from the Detroit Free Press. Can you just maybe share your thoughts and feelings?
I could watch this already. There's a full version of it.
Well, there's definitely a lot of feelings about everything, but I feel most of all that the cries have been heard, and
that is funny, right? They'll tell you whatever.
I feel that this verdict is going to echo throughout every household in the country, and I feel it's necessary, and I'm happy with the verdict, even though it's still a sad situation to be in. It's got to stop. Everything that's going on, we have to address everything, and you know, the root cause. You know, everybody involved. It's accountability, and you know, this is what we've been asking for a long time now, and this is still just one step in the process. There's more to do, and we all have more to do. We all have work now. We all know that we are.
Nothing counts me. I don't care.
For anything that we do. So, that being said, it's important to sit down and do some deep thinking and reflect on everything that we do every day. You know, it's a milestone, and it feels like it.
Obviously, it's an unprecedented situation for a parent of a school shooter to be convicted. Why did you think that was an important thing to do in this case?
Because the bleeding has to stop. There has to be a level of accountability that hasn't been there before. You can't just continue living life with the uncertainty of whether or not our kids are going to come home from school, or are we going to have fun at the game, or you know, anything. It doesn't matter what circumstances, and it's necessary to address it. And you know, it's long overdue. You know, accountability on this level from years ago could have stopped it. You know, it could have stopped what happened in Oxford, that's for sure.
Mr. Schilling, it took the jurors a day and a half to reach a verdict. What was going through your mind during this time?
It's hard to, I don't know if we have enough time to describe what's going through my mind, because it's tough to sit and wait it out and try and understand. You know, you wrap your head around it, and you try and grasp the gravity of the situation. You understand that it's not about, you know, my opinions or anybody else's opinions. It's about the facts, the evidence, and it's about the diligence of the jury. And this is what they did. They were diligent with their decision. They know and they understand the gravity of the situation, and they know the importance of this case, and the fact that they came out with the verdict that they did. It shows that the people have spoken, and the people are tired of the uncertainty of every day.
Can you talk a little bit about what this has done to your family?
Let's shoot Tracy too. Like, not all neglected kids turn out to be this way. I would wonder if they, I don't know, get Ethan help, and then I'm sure they wouldn't release it, but diagnose him and say what was it? Do any of the school shooters have similar traits as far as like, I don't know, personalities, or neglect or abuse, or I don't know, any kind of mental whatever?
And how you're holding up at this juncture now with this verdict?
That's a topic I don't really care to get into very much. The whole event has obviously had a lasting effect on my family. That's
now with this. Can you talk a little bit about what this has done to your family and how you're holding up at this juncture now with this verdict?
That's a topic I don't really care to get into very much. The whole event has obviously had a lasting effect on my family, and the day-to-day, dealing with the day-to-day situations and trials and interviews and press, and it's a chore, and
oh yes,
it wears on you, and every
Kitty says bedwetting, animal harm. That is one of the things. Fire starting. Yeah.
level, and the family feels it on every level.
Does this give you any, does this help you at all move forward?
Well, we have been asking for accountability across the board, and this is, as I said, one step towards that. And I feel that it's moving forward. It's going to not necessarily be any easier because of what we left behind, but it gives us hope for a brighter future, and it gives us hope for just some kind of I don't know. I've kind of lost my train of thought, but
Well, you were very emotional at the sentencing for Ethan. Had your emotions changed in any way after this?
no, the emotions are always going to be there in the back of my mind.
I had a thing for fires when I was a kid. I used to just, I don't know, just used to like lighting shit up outside. I have a fire story I could share too. I think I should save it for the members. I have a kind of a crazy one. But as a kid, I had a little thing for fires, and it went away after some crazy shit happened. I was like, all right, I'm good now. Madison says, Mel, you're wrong. We watch the same child. How do you not effing understand? Understand what? What part are you talking about? Apparently, the jury didn't understand either, I guess. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You guys mentioned Ethan's friend. I'm so curious, like if that person ever comes out and tells the story. That would be interesting. I was a firebug and almost burned my house down and forced that. I almost did the same thing. Almost burned a house down in New York. I don't know where he's on fire. They diagnosed me too.
In the front of my mind, all around, there's really no level of the amount of emotion that you can have in this situation, and the fact that it's been years and it's still residual effects coming out, and it just happens when it happens, and it's always going to be like that. Something like this is it's a life-changing event, and it's really sucks to be in the middle of it.
I believe I read that you said something, if you tried not to think about it, sometimes it would get worse, and so it's better to maybe think about it?
Sure. I mean, it's pressure builds up and you have to release, and you can't just let that stuff just linger. You have to let it ooze out however it comes, and the emotions come out in many different ways. Anger, sadness, and it's all there. I mean, the whole spectrum is there, and you have to let it out. You have to do it in a controlled manner. I feel like I have to do it in a controlled manner, and it's just the way it is. It's the way it's going to be for a long time, I'm sure.
You mentioned that you were one step towards accountability here. What would you say are the other steps that you would like to see?
Well, there's still one more parent out there that is culpable, but there's also the school district there's actions that could have been done to prevent this on that level as well, and that's the next hurdle to go through.
Will you be present for the James Crumbley trial? Will
I'm
you
sorry?
be present for the next trial?
Yes, I'll be here for that.
Do you think the school district should have been charged?
I feel that that's a really a gray area, and I trust the prosecution's office, and I support them wholeheartedly, and bringing it to the level that we're at right now, and it will be enough to, well, not, hopefully it will be enough to cross that bridge and bring that kind of light to a situation where something can happen.
What's a proper penalty for Jennifer Crumbley?
I don't know if I can say that on the air.
So, Craig, she said that she wouldn't do it.
Ooh, I don't know if I could say that on the air. What do you guys think he meant by that? What's the proper sentencing for?
Cross that bridge and bring that kind of light to a situation where something can happen.
What's a proper penalty for Jennifer Crumbley?
Penalty.
I don't know if I can say that on the air.
So, Craig, she said that she wouldn't do it.
My theory. I love your hair. So cute. My theory is death penalty. That's what I was thinking. Yes, I was thinking maybe he meant death penalty or something. That's why he didn't want to say it on the air. Oh.
Or anything differently. What was your reaction to that testimony?
I felt a slap in my face, and it hurts. Something like that hurts because I would do a lot differently. I would do a lot of stuff different.
What would you say to her if you could say something to her?
I can't say that on the air.
Wow. So he was very reserved, but
a lot differently. I would do a lot of stuff different.
What would you say to her if you could say something to her?
I can't say that on the air.
Wow. What did you, when you heard her testimony, what were you thinking, or can you share that with us?
I mean, you like to think that as a human being in a situation that we're in, that you wouldn't have a level of respect and a level of honesty about you to project something positive in this situation, and I didn't really take anything or take much good out of that whole testimony.
What do you want the world to know about your son?
He was an awesome individual.
Pretty Gret said his son helped protect another student.
I think about him every day. And under different circumstances, I'd probably have a lot more to say, but with 50 cameras in my face, it's going to be a little difficult to find the words, but he loved life and he deserved to live it.
Thank you, sir.
It's tough. Yeah. Okay, watch that already. I think I just have maybe 2 more videos. Oh, actually, maybe 3. I found this video while let's play these other ones here. Beal had sent me this one too. Let me see. What did she say? Timestamp 5:11.
Both sides were.
Yes, Greg should.
As a human being in a situation, because I would deserve to live it.
Oh, that's the son right there.
And so he says now he will be watching closely the James Crumbley trial. He also thinks that there should be some problem or some prosecution of Oxford school administrators who were involved with the meeting in this case. But he also said that that's really up to the prosecutor's office. He says he trusts the prosecutor's office to handle that in the way they see fit. Reporting live from Pontiac, Rod Maloney.
Yeah. Okay, Rod, we appreciate it. And reaction is pouring in from across Metro Detroit and across the state. We spoke with Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard. He says today's ruling is about accountability.
what it says is if there's a lot of things that have happened and you saw the potential that this was going to go in a very bad direction, either with self-harm or harm to someone else, and you do nothing, not only that, you make it worse by buying a weapon for that child and leaving it unsecured, there's consequences. That, I think, is the message.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel also agreed with the verdict. She added that Michigan's new safe storage laws, which go into effect next month.
Wow. So, okay. So, and that's the thing. That's the other argument. If they didn't have safe storage laws, then, I mean, they're just introducing that now. I don't know. Yeah, that's.
Will hopefully keep another case like this from happening again.
It won't be a matter of having to show gross negligence.
That's why they had to show gross negligence. Because the part of me for that was the gun and going to the school and seeing that paper, or whether it was emailed or not. But
that a parent didn't properly secure a weapon, it's strict liability, meaning you have to secure that weapon when there are minors that reside in the household or that, frequently visit the household.
We'll have more reaction for you tonight at 11, but for now you can see a recap of this trial.
Okay. Yeah, so we close this up. We watched this already. Did we? Oh wait, maybe we did it.
2/3 of the maximum time. So 10 is 2/3 of 15.
I guess we did it. I don't think we
Yes, and that final step of trial still yet to happen. Sentencing Jennifer Crumbley, facing up to 15 years in prison. So we're going to welcome this afternoon with analysis of the trial, attorney Todd Flood. Todd, always appreciate having you with us. Can you please explain how that sentencing will be determined?
The judge will look at the sentencing guidelines for Jennifer Crumbley. And the guidelines in this case will probably...
Brianna, right? You need an actual law to tell you to restrict the weapon SMH. Some people have to have it written in law, spelled out, and make it be illegal, I guess.
Fall into somewhere between 29 months and 59 months, somewhere in that ballpark. And the judge then will look at a sentencing memorandum, I'm sure, that is done by both the defense and the prosecution in this case, along with the pre-sentence evaluation. The guidelines are advisory, so the judge could legitimately sentence the defendant above the sentencing guidelines. The max she could sentence this person to above the guidelines, if she finds substantial and compelling reasons, would be 10 years. So the term would be 10 to 15. So somewhere the judge will find a term, whether it be 5 years, 4 years, whatever it may be, up to 15. So the max you can do in the state of Michigan is 2/3 of the maximum time. So 10 is 2/3 of 15. That's what she'll look at. It'll be, I'm sure, I know Judge Matthews, it'll be a well thought out, well-structured sentence based on all the information.
Well, and Todd, listening to the debriefs on the trial and, of course, on to...
I mean, yeah, the chart, I thought it was 15 per, but some people maybe mentioned that it might be consecutive. Every time I hear the news talk about it, they're just saying apparently 10 to 15 years. I was thinking 60, but I guess not. I don't know if it's consecutive or what. Beach Bum, thank you for the 5. Says, I think we need to watch the James trial too. Well, we'll see how we can tune in and see if it's interesting. I don't know if it's going to be a repeat of everything. I mean, some of the details will be different, I guess. We'll see, because we can still do Harmony. Harmony's 3.5 weeks. I mean, the Harmony should just be ending when James starts in March. If we want to keep it back to back, we could. I don't know how interesting it'll be. It might. I don't know.
Today's verdict. Many people questioning whether she should have taken the stand. Of course, she was there trying to prove that she was starkly different from the evidence that was against her. That's always tough when you're a defendant taking a stand.
Or concurrent?
Do you think that was the right move here?
I think, jurors always want to have to hang their hat on something.
Oh, concurrent means happening at the same time. Okay. Consecutive is one following up to the other. That makes literal sense. So, yeah. Concurrent then.
right? They want to, find reasonable doubt or proof beyond a reasonable doubt, one way or the other. I think this defendant taking the stand gave a self-serving statement. Oftentimes, she lied. Obviously, that doesn't bode well for her. And if she could turn back the hands of time, she said she wouldn't change really anything. Maybe I think she answered it that he would have shot us instead.
Right. And when she said that sounded so disingenuous. Oh, I wish you shot her. I was just kind of
As opposed to, being a parent, I would have never given a gun for this man. I would have taken the gun away. I would have gotten him help. There's so many different answers to that. I don't think she served her purpose very well to punch holes in the prosecution. The prosecution, put this case with facts. It was, riddled with facts, and they applied the law. So I think putting her up there didn't serve her very well at all.
So the next stage is her husband, James Crumbley. His trial set to start next month. How will this conviction impact that at all?
Well, you'd have to be living under a rock, right, not to see this case. They're going to have to find, 12 impartial jurors. They're going to have to make sure that they understand the only evidence they can use is that for which comes in the courtroom, and to set aside this verdict. They stand on, it's not a team sport. They stand on their own. And
that's the thing. It's going to be, I don't know if that jury that's for the dad's going to see this one and be like, all right, guilty. Of course they got to present things, but I don't know if that's going to have any kind of swaying.
And they're going to judge and evaluate this case in front of them based on the father's actions or failure to act. I think he has a difficult road. We saw the evidence. We saw what came out, and it's difficult. I think it will be difficult for him.
Well, Todd, we certainly appreciate your analysis. Managing partner, Flood Law.
I was tagged on Twitter with this article about the lawsuit with the school because somebody had sent me one that it was dropped. And so I was like, okay, I guess it's not happening. But then somebody sent me this. This is from May 12th, 2023. I might have to have BL look into this and check. I don't know what's going on over here. Let me people. A federal judge ruled Friday that a lawsuit from family members of the victims in the November 2021 Oxford High School shooting can proceed against Oxford Community Schools and 2 school staff members, while also dismissing 7 former and current staff members from the case. Judge ruled against requests to dismiss the school district along with Sean Hopkins, an Oxford counselor at the time, and Nicholas Ejak. I feel like they testified, right? He ruled against requests to dismiss the school district along with Sean Hopkins and Oxford counselor at the time, Nicholas Ejak, then the school's dean of students. Goldsmith wrote that the attorneys for the victims' families have plausibly argued that Hopkins and Ejak knew shooter Ethan Crumbley posed a risk and failed to address. The ruling does not mean that the district or the staff members have been found liable. It means that attorneys on both sides can move forward in finding more information. Amazing. To try to prove or disprove their case further. Goldsmith dismissed 7 Oxford staff members from the claim: former district superintendent Tim, former superintendent Kenneth, former principal Stephen, restorative practices coordinator Pamela. So all the big heads get out of it. The ruling comes on the heels of a third-party safety report that found Oxford High School staff are not consistently asking students being assessed as possible threats whether they have firearms. All right. So maybe that's one of the latest updates. I'll send this to BL to look into it a little bit more. I hope that, I don't know. Is that setting another precedent if they bring the counselor and they charge the counselor or whatever? Oh, we saw this already. Okay.
Your family.
That's Court TV's version. So I'm gonna send this to BL. I know she's sleeping already. Maybe she can look into it sometime. All right. I guess that's it for today or tonight. Suing school counselor and dean only in federal court was dismissed by Superior Court, but not federal court, but only those two. Can he take a plea deal? I don't know, man. That's a great question for attorneys. I really don't know. See, the whole thing too with the Faradays, the father, Tim Faraday, that was like charged for locking his son in an 8x8 box. It was like a man-made room, but like he had a pee bucket. He couldn't leave the room. He was left in there long periods of time. The father was charged. The father had a camera in there, and basically they used his own camera footage to incriminate him. He incriminated himself. Now the mother is being charged, and her trial's coming up too. I don't think she was offered a plea deal. Mustard Mama, thank you so much. Says cheers for that. Cheers to health for you too. Thank you so much, Mustard. Send me a cash app. Thank you. I need to fill out the damn app now tonight. The application that I downloaded. He might not get a plea deal. I don't know. And would he even take it? Dad, Tim Faraday, he probably should have taken the plea deal. Would have got less time. Yeah, the significant others in both cases are effed. Yeah, probably, yeah. Carly says people are saying James won't be offered a plea deal. Damn. Carly, by the way, that I don't know if you saw on the main channel that video I dropped tonight. That was inspired by the story you sent me about the ODs. The 5 people that OD'd and 1 person survived. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to call it for tonight and relax. Thank you guys so much for coming through. Appreciate it. It's so funny, like seeing the feet right there. It's like, what's going on? Tomorrow, I don't know. We'll see what time this Harmony Montgomery thing starts. It's one of those cases I feel like we have to cover. The dad, who took the screenshot? I think Lillian London took the screenshot. This was him walking into court today for jury selection. This guy's been accused of murdering his daughter. And he's in here, walking in here, smiling and stuff. This might be probably a tough case to listen to. I can't lie. It's going to be, it's a child, so it's kind of like, but this guy, I totally believe, I don't know what his defense is going to be. I went through the whole probable cause affidavit. I don't see how this guy's getting out of it. There's so much like evidence. And not only that, the woman that he was with, the stepmother, Kayla Montgomery, she snitched. And honestly, I think there's more people involved than just him. I think there's other people involved in it based on the whole affidavit. I think there's other people involved. So I think it starts tomorrow. We'll see what time. I'll have a thumbnail made tonight. So whenever it's ready tomorrow, we'll launch that and we'll start that. Oh, yeah, for sure I will. It's too much, right, Hoax? That stuff with the kids, man. That shit, the Gannon stuff, that drained me, man. That shit was too much for me. Gannon stout. It had its ups and downs, but at the end, that thing was just too much, man. It was like draining. At 10 tomorrow, Chaos? Okay. But I don't know what's his defense going to be. I don't see him walking out of this. I don't even think it's really a question or like what just the evidence was crazy on this guy, I think. Supposedly starts tomorrow. They're saying at 10. So when I see a confirmation in the morning too, I'll try to set it up. If I can, I'll try to set up a little early so people have time to tune in. Yeah, it's too much, man. With the kids, bro. Oh, the Gannon stuff. Yeah. Everybody got emotional, especially at the end of that trial. Oh my god. I even cried. I just tried to keep my composure at the end. Oh man, it was too much. Way too much. I did a few videos on Harmony, but I did one even more recently that goes through a lot of the details. Let me see. I'll put in the chat the link if you get bored tonight or tomorrow if you want to listen to it, kind of play it in the background. Okay, here it is. Put the link in the chat. It's a 1 hour 44-minute video, but it's going through like everything of literally the whole probable cause affidavit. You probably know everything you need to know probably just watching that video. So all right, guys. Well, have a good night. Get some rest. Thank you again so much for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Take care. Peace. Adios. Bye.